Hey, what's up? This is Gary from Raz Rentals, and today, well, I'm going to talk about Playmates' brand new Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 1988 Remastered 6-pack. Ooh, 6 figures in one box? What a perfect way to jumpstart a brand new Ninja Turtle action figure series. Will they hook you? Will they hook me? We'll see. And yes, I do know that the Ninja Turtles have been released before in these single packs. I actually got all 4 of these guys, but unfortunately I never reviewed them. I just never got to it because I'm a slacker. But the Ninja Turtles in this box are actually an improvement because they got rid of this weird texture. You know, these guys are very porous. They have like all these pores on them. But these Ninja Turtles in here, they're all nice and smooth. And also, I think some of them have a few upgrades, such as Raphael here. You know, I really hated Playmates, I don't know, pale green that they were using for Raphael. Like, for whatever reason, they were just choosing not to use the original color. But it looks like here, he actually has a color that's more similar to the original action figure. I mean, if you're going to sell me nostalgic action figures, you know, get the nostalgia right? And also, they screwed up Donatello's head on the original release. They switched him and Leonardo's, but now it appears as though Leonardo and Donatello have the correct heads. This 6-pack is actually pretty exciting for me because ever since my channel started, people have been asking me, hey Gary, don't you wish Playmates would make Ninja Turtle action figures based on the 88 series, but with upgraded articulation and extra paint and stuff like that? Sort of like what Mattel has been doing with Masters of the Universe Origins. You know, here's the original Mosquitor, and over here is the new one. Man, the original one looks way buffer and kind of cooler than the newer one, but I guess he's got better articulation, whatever. But, you know, don't you wish they had upgraded articulation? And unlike the Super 7 Ultimates action figures, they were actually in the same scale as the original toy, so they could fit on all your favorite vehicles and play in your favorite play sets on your shelf. You know, you're not really playing with them. At least that's not what you're admitting on camera. And yeah, 100%. You know, I've definitely wanted to see Playmates do this with the Ninja Turtles. You know, I thought it would be really cool. You know, I thought if they succeeded, it would be very, you know, it would be amazing. Now, the only question is, have they executed these guys as well as Mattel has done with Motu Origins? And also, you know, was it worth killing off the Super 7 Ultimates line so that Playmates could make action figures that are sort of similar to what Super 7 was doing, only bigger and more detailed? I guess we'll find out together in this video because, as I said before, I haven't opened up the single packs. There will be some comparing of these guys with these guys, but you know, we'll go through this together. All right. You know, one thing I got to say is the original 1988 remastered action figures actually used packaging that was very similar to the original card backs from back in the day, and I wonder if they'll continue to use this style if they release singles of these guys. You know, here is an original Raphael card back, so you can kind of see what the original toys had going on. And that Raphael head right there is that one up here, I think. Yeah, that's him. So here in this 6-pack, they used all brand new designs, you know, and I kind of like it. You know, I like it. I like how, like, gross and dirty they're trying to make it. It looks very grimy. You know, you have all this ooze dripping down everywhere. This mutagen is all over the place. It's in the sewers. It's not exploding bricks, I guess, like the you know, the original action figures were doing. But I like it. You know, I like how heavy the ink lines are and just all the scratches and texture on all the different things. There's actually a texture on the rocks, it appears. But yeah, down here Playmates, up here Nickelodeon, because they are indeed the owners. Now you can see all the guys in here very well, and you can actually see some pictures behind them. I see April's head. It looks like maybe there's a picture of the sewer. So this is the image that was behind the guys in the 6-pack. As you can see, it looks just like the sewer lair, you know, or it doesn't look just like it, but, you know, it's they're trying to make it look like the sewer layer. I mean, you have the studded sewer ball right here. Over on this side, you can see it has this opening which leads into the turtle's bedroom. It kind of appears as though there's a computer on this desk, I guess, in front of this chair. Over here, you have the, what is it? The post-battle recovery room with the turtle computer and see-through screen. If you look at the actual sewer layer, you can see all of that. They did a pretty decent job recreating like that artwork inside the doorway, and it's not 100%. I mean, first of all, the version that they did doesn't have the Ninja Turtle masks on the bed or on the floor. You know, there's some differences. I did include creepy April looking in through the see-through computer screen. You know, she's watching the turtles sleeping, I guess. One thing to point out is right here in front of Shredder, you do have this elevator from the original playset. Obviously, the detail's a little different, but they tried. They tried. Over on this side, there's not much, just some green pipes and some more mutagen. On this side, there's barely anything. There are some eyes peeping through this hole right here. On top, there's actually some more details. Oh, knocking my shit over here. Over here, you have the top of the elevator. And then over here, you have the fire hydrant cover that is also on the original playset. That's like that used to be like one of the harder items to find from the original playset. I remember it being expensive. And then over here you do have the actual fire hydrant with the eyeball sticking out, just like the original playset. And then there is a manhole here, but the manhole looks different. It's not blue like the original one was blue. But I do like just how grimy and dirty and gross everything looks. You know, I'm perfectly fine with a new style of packaging to I don't know, separate these guys from the originals. On the back here, you have some brand new Ninja Turtle artwork. Now this is I don't know, I think this is okay. Some of these spots look a little too rough for me. Like they aren't just like completely fully realized or something. It's like they kind of sketched them and then sort of inked on top of them and quickly painted them. I don't know, it has energy, so that's good. But you know, it's just not as maybe polished as like the original one is, or just most like Ninja Turtle art in general. I don't know. I'm trying not to be rude here, but I don't know. Like there's some things in Shredder here that just look a little wonky to me. It's like the muscles don't really like add up. You know, it's just kind of like a form with some lines to try to show that the muscles are there, but they're not just connecting in the correct way. I don't know. The ink lines don't even keep in the colors. Like this, whoever, like, it almost looks in a lot of spots like they couldn't color in the lines. I would say, you know, this is still something exciting to look at, you know, it's unique to this box set, I guess. So over here it says, action figures inspired by the ones that started your collection. Celebrate Turtles' history with action figures based on the first wave of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles toys from 1988, remastered with new articulation and intricate detail. These characters combined retro styling with modern updates. It's exactly what I said I was looking for, right? Over here you have Uncle Shredder Wants You. And next to that it says, free turtle food, call Mr. Bebop. I think that's funny, you know. Bebop is so stupid, he's putting up a sign that he thinks the Ninja Turtles, or, you know, they're going to want to call him to, I don't know, fall into a trap or something like that. He should have put pizza there. But I guess Bebop is too stupid to realize the Ninja Turtles like to eat pizza. He just thinks they eat turtle food still. Alright, so if you move back to the front and you look on the back, does it have anything specific about the people who made this? No. Package design 2025 Playmates International Company, conforms to product safety standards, prototype shown in photographs. It says prototype shown in photographs, but there are no photographs on this box. So that's it for the packaging. As I said, I do kind of like the originals. These guys, you know, they came with extra weapons, and they also came with a base, you know, to build this rooftop scene. It looks as though none of those extra items are included in this 6-pack. But it also kind of looks like maybe Shredder does have some extra weapons right here. My fear, I guess, is that eventually they'll release Shredder and Splinter in their own single packs and give them a bunch of extra weapons that you didn't get in this 6-pack and make me buy 2 figures over again. This 6-pack cost $54.99 at Target. And if you bought those original Ninja Turtle single action figures, I believe they cost around $12.99, $12.96 or something like that at Walmart. Now, I couldn't find the definite number because I couldn't find them in my purchase history at Walmart. So maybe I used cash instead of card or something like that. It didn't come up in my account. And if you look on Walmart right now, you can't find the original prices of these action figures because they're all like originally priced at like 20 something, which is ridiculous. And then Raphael, you know, is on sale for 12 something. I think Leonardo might be 18 something. It's stupid. And I'll tell you what's really stupid and what kind of irritates me is Walmart's prices, even though all these Ninja Turtle action figures are sold by Walmart, and you would think that they would be the price of how much they're supposed to sell them for because they bought them from Playmates and they're selling them. Walmart prices are usually dictated by Amazon prices. Like if you look at the Amazon website, the prices correlate. You know, it's like that all the time, even with video games and movies and stuff like that. Walmart will change their price to match whatever's on Amazon. It's ridiculous. Like I kind of feel like Walmart's looking like a little bitch copying what Amazon is doing. So now I'm going to open these guys up and I will get back to you in a second. So here they are, free from their prison of cardboard and plastic, ready to try to win you over so the people of Playmates can return to their glory days when they were on top of the world and pizza was selling all over America and every kid wanted to go to karate, right? You know, for far too long, NECA's been kicking the crap out of them, and that's just not right, you know, because Playmates, they're the originals. So, with this 6-pack release, are the tides starting to turn? Well, I think there's some good signs here that Playmates is still able to appeal to long-term Turtle fans like myself, because after all, this 6-pack was advertised for people like me who grew up with the original action figures. I really like the Turtles a lot. I do think that there are some problems with them that I'll get into. They don't necessarily ruin the action figure for me, but there are some problems that I'll point out. Splinter here, I'm sort of indifferent on. You know, he's very different than the original Splinter. You know, where these guys are pretty faithful, Splinter is like a brand new take on that action figure, or just, I guess, on the character. There's only one action figure here that kind of makes me worry about what may happen in the future. That action figure looks as though he just realized that I'm talking about him. Either that or maybe he shit his pants. I'm not sure. But I'm talking about the Shredder. And for some reason, I don't know, man. Like, Playmates can just never get a classic Shredder right. There's just something off about this guy, and I'll get into it very excessively later on when I compare him to the original figure from 1988. But before we get into the Shredder, let's talk about the 4 Ninja Turtles. Visually, I think these brand new Ninja Turtles look pretty great. I mean, they really do look a lot like the original toys that we had back in the old days. They're just, if you make them standing straight up, they're a lot taller than these original guys. And even if you kind of squat them down like Leonardo is here, Leo is still just a tad bit taller than Raphael in his squatting pose. I think it's because in general their legs are just longer than the original legs were. One thing I should point off to right off the bat is the paint scheme of these brand new Ninja Turtles. I feel like the shell here matches the soft-headed Ninja Turtles a lot more than the hard-headed ones. See that front shell there? There's just a little bit more orange or something in it. It's a little darker than sort of this pale yellow of the soft-headed figures. But the back shells, I don't know, they're sort of similar, but I don't know, they kind of look like they have a little bit more gray in them. Like the soft shell, the soft-headed turtles, there's definitely a lot more green in this. It's kind of dark. I almost kind of think the hard-headed figures have a darker green for this back shell, but it almost kind of looks like I guess it looks darker, but it's shinier. You know, there's a glossy finish to this back shell. All 4 of these Ninja Turtles share the same exact body, with the exception of the head and the belt. You know, everything is shared across all 4 of them, so they all have the same exact articulation. The original toys, they did share the same articulation style. You know, they have a cut in their shoulder, a swivel in the elbow, and then ball jointed hips and a swivel in the neck. You know, they all had that. But the arms, the legs, and the heads were all unique to the Ninja Turtle. The only thing that was shared between all 4 of them was the shell. One detail that they actually paid attention to is the style of belt tassels they have. Like, see how Leonardo has this one that's kind of like jutting out that way, and you got this fat one here? Well, that's what they did with this new one. Same thing with Raphael and the other 2 guys. The biggest difference with the belt is the letter. You know, the older letters are more blocky. These brand new ones are pretty thin. When it comes to these brand new head sculpts, and I'll go a little more in detail as I go Ninja Turtle by Ninja Turtle, the one thing that really stands out to me is I think the beaks are a little more bulgy. They're a little bigger. The paint on the teeth is definitely worse than it used to be. Like, the quality control is not great. You know, there's lots of glob, or it's not globby, but you can see that there's a lot of area there where they did not paint the teeth white. You know, the original Donatello here, look how immaculate and how sharp the paint is around the teeth, and it completely covers the teeth. What I think is another good thing is, much like the soft head, but not the hard-headed ones. The hard-headed Ninja Turtles, I've said this before, I think during my 88 hard head versus soft head review, that their heads kind of look a little squished this direction. Like, and it's not as good. Like, you see how nice and like filled out this head is? Like, it actually looks like it's, I guess, natural or more natural than those hard-headed Ninja Turtles. That's sort of how it is with the soft-headed ones, too, because I feel like this Donatello head, and I think I've said this before, this Donatello head is like my favorite Ninja Turtle head, just because it looks so classic. But see, I think they took a lot of inspiration from the soft-headed figures, even more so than the hard-headed ones, because it's just, the hard-headed ones are just a little off. And I know Leonardo especially, like, the hard-headed one, it really makes him look like he's got like a pencil neck. Like, see how like straight up his head is compared to his body? And I really like how this brand new one looks more natural. Like, as he's sort of hunched over and his head is kind of tilted forward. So that's a good thing. But then again, the teeth on him aren't the best, although they look like they're better than Donatello's. One thing that I think is kind of weird about these brand new Ninja Turtles is I feel like most of their eyes are like off center. You know, they're not lined up directly in the center of that snout of theirs or beak. Like Michelangelo here, like, look how off center his eyes are. I think maybe Raph might be the worst. Like, it makes me want to like be able to grab this and just kind of turn it a little bit. Like, at first when I saw these and I saw people posting about the quality control of these, I thought maybe the masks were a separate piece from the rest of the head, but they're not. So why would they sculpt them like so wonky? Like, there is a little bit of a wonkiness, I think, to the original one, but it looks a little cleaner or more on center than this one does. Proportionately, the brand new shells appear to be a little smaller than the original ones. Like, the original ones are probably longer and wider, just the whole torso altogether. These are smaller, but it still works really well with the body. You know, like it's not a problem or anything like that. It's not like it makes them look weird. Just an observation. The the belts, I think, are actually better than the original belts because they actually feel like they're made out of a sturdy vinyl. I mean, I'm sure you've probably picked up Ninja Turtle action figures with broken belts. You know, especially Donatello. I'm sure everybody out there has gone through many Donatellos with a broken bow holster, because this is so flimsy. Like, they break all the time, but I feel like this bow holster feels nice and stiff, and you can easily stick this thing in here without it breaking. So that is wonderful. Oh, I shouldn't have gotten rid of him. I just can't stand him up correctly. The back of their shells have texture on them. They actually look really nice. The original ones, I mean, I never had a problem with them. They're smooth. They still have scrapes and scratches all over them. It looks as though these brand new shells do not have any scratches, but the old ones do. You know, so the old ones were a little more badass because they were getting in fights all the time. The muscle groups on these brand new Ninja Turtles look good, but I don't know. They are definitely nowhere near as jacked as those original Ninja Turtles. I mean, even look at this. Like, you can clearly see that his shoulder width is a lot wider on that original action figure. And just the size of the bicep. You know, this brand new Michelangelo just cannot compete. Look at that huge arm on that original Michelangelo. And the triceps in the back. He looks a little weaker. Now, they do have... It's more visible on the porous ones, but there are more detailed muscles on the forearm. However, the one thing that is not included that I feel is like an old Ninja Turtle staple, like when I think of these old Ninja Turtle toys and I think of their muscle groups, I think of these gigantic, pronounced veins. And they do not have any veins on them whatsoever. It may not be a big deal to you. I'm sure it's probably not a big deal to most people. But I feel like those veins are so reminiscent of the Ninja Turtles I grew up with in the 80s. Like, these guys were pumping iron, like, all the time. And, you know, these Ninja... You know, just like with the paint problems with the teeth, these Ninja Turtles, you know, are not free of quality control problems because, like, my Leonardo... I mean, his forearms are switched. They're on the wrong side. And you can tell because this muscle right here. This muscle right here is the brachioradialis. Brachioradialis. And that muscle is supposed to be on the outside of the arm. So I'm going to have to pop these out and put them back in there. And also with the... I noticed with my... pore-filled Michelangelo, this arm is correct, but he has two of them. So, not great. The muscles on the legs may be more faithful than the arms, but, you know, I think it looks turtle-esque. I think maybe the most faithful looking place is down here on the lower leg, with the calf muscles and the ankle, and just all the wrinkles on the feet. I think that looks very similar to the original action figure. The articulation on the original Ninja Turtles, as I said before, was pretty simple. You know, you had a swivel in the neck, you have a swivel in the shoulder, you have a swivel in the elbow, and then you have ball-jointed hips. The big problem is, because you don't have a hinge here in the elbow, you can never really make it look as though Leonardo's actually slashing somebody with his swords. Like, he always keeps them very close to himself. You know, when you're trying to pose him on your shelf fighting the foot soldiers or something like that. So, with the brand new Ninja Turtles, the articulation is okay. I have some problems with it, but here's what I like, right? You have a ball-jointed head. That's good. You have a swivel and a hinge in the shoulder, so that's pretty good too. There is no bicep cut, but it's not a deal breaker for me, I guess, because of the swivel in the shoulder. The elbow here actually has a hinge and it has a swivel, which is great because now you can actually make it look as though Leonardo is slashing people and attacking. You do not have a hinge in the elbow, or I'm sorry, in the wrist here, so you can't like lean forward to really make it look like he's cutting at somebody, but I think it's good enough. And you have a swivel there in the wrist. I was actually pretty happy with how Donatello was able to reach so far ahead in front of him with the bow staff to really make it look like he's whacking somebody. Now here's the part of the articulation I don't like. I don't like these hips. I don't like any of the hips that Playmates has been making like this. You know, it's not just these Ninja Turtles. It's also these Ninja Turtles, which I think are actually pretty cool, you know, decent Ninja Turtles. These actually work a little better because he's like smaller, but the peg works okay with him. But I don't know, this one, like you can't really bring it up forward high enough for like a really good kick. It's just kind of at a weird spot. And like when you're trying to get him to stand, like you really kind of have to work with it. And sometimes I feel like you're really like squatting him down even farther than you should to get him to stand in like an attack pose. The knees are good. And did I say the problem is you give this peg, right? And it's like going straight up into his body like this. And it's just kind of not how your leg works. But you have a hinge and you do have a swivel. Down here at the knee, you have a swivel and you have a hinge. I just did that backwards, but it's all right. So you can get like a nice kick, or I'm sorry, you can extend it out pretty well. You can get like a full, almost, I don't know, it's an almost 45-degree angle. But the ankle here, I think, stinks. You know, the ankle is not great because it's just this cut. Like, it doesn't look nice. Like, aesthetically, it looks weird. And when you're trying to pose him, as I said before, you kind of have to work extra hard with the hip articulation because it's kind of hard to get him to stand upright. And, you know, you're not going to be able to get good poses of him running and stuff like that because you can't really rotate the foot outward, so it just never looks natural or good. And it's not as though, you know, Playmates hasn't ever made articulated ankles. I mean, hell, they just made this shredder here. He does not. Somebody does. It's Splinter. Splinter has the articulated. Where is it? Splinter has a hinge. You know, he's got a hinge on the ankle. He's got ankle, and he's got ankle rockers. So how did Splinter get this futuristic, highly advanced articulated ankle? But the Ninja Turtles, even more important than Splinter, they just have this crappy boot cut, ankle cut. You know, Ninja Turtle toys have had the a hinged ankle before. I mean, you have these mutations from back in the day. Look at that. It can be done. They have the technology, but they didn't use it. So I don't know. The articulation is nice and stiff, which is a lot nicer than like Super 7's articulation. You know, when Super 7 made their Ultimates action figures, I really did think that they were the future of the Playmates designs. You know, I think even more so than this guy, the muscle groups match those original old Ninja Turtles. And even though like the forearms here are a lot more muscular, they still have the veins. The thigh muscles look more similar to those original action figures. But they do have a lot more articulation, right? And they're bigger. But it's like sort of an unfair comparison because this thing was $45, and in the box set of 6 figures, this guy was $9. So, you know, the price of this guy is a lot better, but you're missing out on all this articulation that you would have gotten if Super 7 would continue to make more Ultimates of their mutants and other characters. I'm just rambling now. What was I going to say? Oh yeah, what I do like though is that the articulation is pretty nice and stiff on this guy. Obviously, you're very limited, even more limited than the Super 7 action figures. But the Super 7 action figures are loose. You know, every single one of them has become loose, articulated, and look how Leonardo can't even really hold his sword anymore. So, I don't know. Both, I think, are pretty neat. I still like the Ultimates Ninja Turtles a lot. I don't know. I like it. I like these turtles, but I almost kind of feel like, I don't know, I was still happy with the original guys. I guess I never really had a problem with how you could pose these guys. I feel like with the Masters of the Universe action figures, like the legs are basically useless and their arms, you know, only go up and down. But because you have that extra cut in the elbow and you have, you know, decent ball jointed hips on them, I've never really thought like, oh, I wish he was more highly articulated. Although I do wish that, you know, they didn't have these stupid feet that make them fall over all the time. One final thing to say about these toys before I go into a full side-by-side comparison with the original Leonardo, and I'll put the Super 7 figures next to them just so you can say, but they have these gigantic peg holes on the bottoms of their feet. When have you ever gotten some kind of playset or stand with pegs this size? It's ridiculous. Like, this is, I think, the average size peg hole, and this is like way, way, way too big. Now let's look at each Ninja Turtle side by side with their original action figure. I'm going to show them directly next to the soft heads, but don't worry, I'm going to show them with the hard heads, the porous bodies, and also the Super 7 Ultimates. I just have them standing next to the soft heads because, as I said before, I think the color scheme of these guys matches the original soft head Ninja Turtles much more than the hard-headed ones. First, I'd like to say that I did try to get Donatello to stand in this kind of stance. First of all, I cannot stand the way the Donatello action figure stands. I love this toy. I think he looks great. I love the face on that original soft-headed Donatello, but he cannot stand for shit. He falls over all the time. You know, the wind blows and he's down on the ground. But this guy, I don't know. You can't, like, put the leg behind him at all because you can't, you know, turn the ankle. You have this cut, and it just doesn't work. And, I don't know, as I've said before, I really do not like... Come on, you son of a gun, yeah. I really do not like the hip articulation. It's like, you kind of want it to, like, rotate it maybe this direction, too, sometimes. But you can't because it's not a ball joint. You have this peg here that's getting in the way. So, yeah, I did what I could. But, you know, the colors look good. And, you know, unlike the porous version of Donatello, you actually have the correct head. I think the likeness is pretty good. As I said before, the nose sure bulges quite a lot. But it's still just a very fine take on that original action figure. Now you finally do have the correct tassels or ties on the back of the bandana. I don't know, he looks good. I really like the brand new bow. I like how the straps here are painted purple, and they actually match his knee pads and elbow pads, unlike the porous version of the Donatello. Having the bow painted like this, where you have the color in the middle here, that reminds me so much more of the 2003 series than it does the original Ninja Turtles. Because, I mean, that was usually always white, wasn't it? Every time you saw Donatello back in the day. The details are much sharper on the original bow, and I kind of like how the wraps look. Like, this is much more simple everywhere. Like, even the texture on the wood just looks more simple. I already mentioned this earlier when I was talking about how sturdy the belts were. You can put the bow into Donatello's belt, the bow holster, pretty easily. Slides right in there. And I don't think it's going to break anytime soon. Or at least I hope it doesn't. Here's this brand new Donatello with all of its closest relatives. As you can see, color-wise, he very much matches the soft-head one, like I already said. And, you know, the hard-headed one looks just as good next to him. The brown might be a little lighter or something like that on this compared to this. But he definitely looks close to the soft-head one. Then you had the Super 7 Ultimates Donatello, which I think was a pretty awesome Donatello. I actually really liked that action figure. The only thing about him was, like, look how ridiculously small his bow is. Like, he looks so stupid with this tiny little bow. I feel bad for him. It's embarrassing. But then you have the last version of this remastered 1988 Donatello. And that Donatello, that looks like a bootleg almost. Because color-wise, he just does not match any of these. Like, you know, even Super 7 got the colors right for the most part. They're close. But this is way off, you know. This brown is way too dark. The purple is way too dark. And then the purple on the bow is like almost like a violet. Like, it doesn't even match the knee pads and the elbow pads. So thankfully, they have revised their color scheme to make him look appropriate. Not to mention the face is wrong because that's Leonardo's head. The shell here in the front, though, might look a little closer to the hard-headed Donatello. But other than that, color-wise, it's just way off. Now, just for the sake of trying to make this as complete as possible, here are all the items that were included with this original textured Donatello. You know, this smooth Donatello, all he came with was the bow. But all of these bits and pieces came with that dude over there. You have this extra weapon, which looks pretty cool. It would have been cooler if the wood was painted, but I don't know, it's still nice. And then, of course, you have the fist daggers, because what Ninja Turtles series would be complete without the fist daggers? And they look almost exact to the fist daggers that originally came out, you know, all the way back in the day. And then, of course, you have 2 Ninja Stars. These, I don't know. They don't appear as sharp as some of the old original Ninja Stars from '88. Here is what the Ninja Stars look like with the movie series. Actually, the movie series ones are smaller than that, so it's probably when the '88 ones became a little dull. And then, of course, you have this rooftop stand or diorama, and this extra air conditioning piece that doesn't click into any place on here, but I don't know. I guess you just can't shake your shelf so it'll stay in place. Now, what's kind of crazy, though, is I can't believe they didn't include a comma. Like, how do you not include that with this overstuffed Donatello right here? You know, like Super 7 made really, really cool-looking commas that were very sharp. I'm sure Playmates would just stick with this, like, kind of rounded one, but whatever. Do you think that they should have included the weapons racks with these guys? Let me know. Up next, we have Leonardo. And, you know, I did a better job, I gotta say, of trying to balance him on this foot like the original action figure. I mean, it makes him look more like he's lunging forward, so that's good. You know, he looks like he's on the move and ready to attack. You know, in general, I think color-wise, everything looks nice. Nice olive green color. Shells look similar. The belts looks very similar, too, except, I don't know if you've noticed, they have, like, these little, like, pieces in the corners here. It's just not as straight or square. I mean, that's not square. It's more of a triangle. But here it's kind of like rounded. He's going to fall. Both of these guys are going to fall right over as soon as I start to move them. But yeah, the new version, they painted the white in here where these teeth should be, which is kind of funny because on the other side, the teeth are segmented. Well, it's not segmented, but you have, you know, separate teeth. And over here, you just have one chunk of tooth. So you just got like one giant tooth over on that side. I feel like maybe the original Leonardo always kind of had like almost somewhat like a sad look on his face or something. It's because of the way his eyes look. This Leo does not look sad at all. He looks pretty angry. His swords look good. Of course, he has the blue painted straps on the handles, which is very much, again, like I said, just like the 2003 series. The scabbards are pretty similar. I mean, they're almost exact. I cannot believe they didn't fall. Because Leonardo, I think, is almost as bad as Donatello when it comes to standing. I should point out, I do like Leonardo's scabbards. They look pretty good, and it almost kind of looks as though, I don't know, the swords fit on top of each other pretty well. It's always tough with Leonardo because no matter what, the way these scabbards are built, and because the swords are always like such a softer, I don't know, vinyl or plastic, it's like they always end up getting a little bent. So hopefully that doesn't happen if you're trying to keep them in there. But right now, they look like they're sitting on top of each other. They're pretty straight. But who knows how long that will last. Here's a whole lot of Leonardo. You know, I've always said this. Even though Leonardo is not my favorite Ninja Turtle, he makes the best action figures. Because there's just something so cool about seeing a Ninja Turtle holding two swords. I don't know. He's just more iconic, I guess, than the other guys. In my personal opinion. But, I mean, I think the thing that really won me over the most was whenever the 2003 Leonardo came out. Like, I just loved having this guy on my desk because he looked so cool. And, I mean, he doesn't really compare to these guys because he's a whole other different type of animal. But, I don't know. I felt a certain wowness with this Leonardo. That, I don't know. I guess I don't really feel it as much with these guys. Maybe it's because I've already been spoiled with like the ultimates and stuff like that. But you know, he looks good. But even in this squatted position, like he looks kind of like he's smaller than these guys. Like these guys stand straight up. They look, I don't know, more imposing or something like that. I mean, look, don't get me wrong. He looks vicious and he looks like he's ready to attack people. But I don't know. There's just something, even with this guy who's standing straight up. You know, these guys seem to be a little wider or stout or something like that. Like, more like how I think the Ninja Turtles should be, you know, especially if you were like to compare them to like the Mirage comics back in the day. Not necessarily the Fred Wolf Ninja Turtles. There's something also about like when you squat him down all the way like this, he starts to kind of take on this kind of look to me, in my opinion. Like this flippin' Leonardo. But I don't know. I know it probably sounds like I'm complaining a lot, but like I do like it. I think he looks cool. I just think that hip articulation really could have used a little tweaking. So if you compare the Porous Leonardo to all the other Leonardos, he's got the Donatello head, you know, and then the colors are just off. You know, the blues probably aren't as bright as these blues on these other Leonardos. And the skin tone is definitely a lot darker, even though it's pretty close. You know, it's almost there, but I mean, this right here is spot on to what you expect from your classic 1988 Leonardo. Here you can see smooth Leonardo standing next to textured Leonardo with all of textured Leonardo's accessories. All right, so you had this very cool extra weapon right here. Now this thing is kind of weird looking, but I like it, you know. It doesn't look like anything that I would ever think Leonardo would use. But I don't know. It's just kind of a neat, weird looking design. It seems like something like a knight or like some kind of fantasy bad guy would have to like chop people into pieces. I don't know. It just does not fit or feel Leonardo to me. And then, of course, you have the same stand as the other Ninja Turtles. I did notice that the only difference between all these stands is like this goop of mutagen right here. I think it's a different shape for each Ninja Turtle. And then you have the antenna. You have a skylight that doesn't snap into place anywhere. And then, of course, you have the fist daggers and also 2 ninja stars. Up next, we have Michelangelo. Color-wise, this looks great. And when I show you all of the Michelangelos next to each other, you'll see how Playmates was sort of getting off color. You know, it wasn't this very cool-looking forest green that Michelangelo always had back in the day. I mean, you could sort of wing the leg back here. But then again, it's just, like I said, the hip articulation and the ankle articulation really causes a problem. What was I going to say here? Oh, I know. I think maybe Michelangelo might be the least faithful when it comes to the face. Like, there's just something about it proportionally that doesn't look as close as maybe Donatello, Leonardo, and Raphael. Not really sure why. He does have that gigantic bulbous nose, like all of them do. Maybe that might be sinking it a little bit for me. The I don't know, the mask really kind of comes to a point almost. This one does not. One thing that's really great about this new Michelangelo are these really cool chain linked nunchucks. You know, they look wonderful. They're the handles are orange, just like the 2003 series, but they look great. The only thing that, you know, even though I love how these look, and these are how much I would always pretty much want the nunchucks to be, I don't like how, like, you know, you can't really pose them like he's swinging at somebody. You always got to put like a wire or something in there. That was like the one benefit of the original Michelangelo action figure, is because you can actually like rotate the nunchuck outward and then have it kind of look like it's whacking somebody. These are actually the thicker nunchucks. I've talked about these during my 88 review, I think, where I believe that these thicker nunchucks actually came with the soft-headed Michelangelo. And no, they are not the movie star nunchucks. Somebody, I think I had a couple people be like, oh, those are the movie star ones. No, trust me, I know what the movie star nunchucks look like, all right? They're a lot more brown than these. These came with these 88 figures. I feel like at some point they like decided to cheapen out on how much plastic or vinyl or whatever was being used, and then you got these much thinner, crappier straps or ropes. So if you ever look for nunchucks, make sure you find these ones. These are definitely the best. When it comes to Michelangelo's belt, I don't know. I've had a lifetime of faulty Michelangelo belts that have made me weary of ever trying to shove a nunchuck completely into the hole there. I don't know. I just feel like even if this is a sturdier plastic, like, the nunchuck still might break it. But, you know, I could get these things in, and I just haven't really pushed them much further than this point, except for this one here. I mean, it's pretty tight. You know, it is kind of tough to get them in there in the first place. So I just don't want to risk cracking these things or ripping them. Here's Michelangelo next to all the other party dudes. Again, just like Leonardo and Donatello, the colors just look so much nicer. You know, oranges look good. The forest green color of his skin tone looks fantastic. You know, I don't know. Like, for a while, I didn't think Michelangelo was as bad as what they were doing with Raphael, but that Michelangelo right there, he is so off. You know, I feel like there's almost a little too much blue or something like that in the green. Like, he's almost like on the way to becoming like a slash type of skin tone turtle. But this looks great, you know. I don't know. These 4 Ninja Turtles right here, they look fantastic. Look at these giant chains too. Like, Super 7 was able to get these nice little ones. But I don't know. I don't really care. That's not really that big of a deal. So far, these Ninja Turtles are looking pretty nice. You know, I think I'm pretty happy with how these 4 turtles came out. And here we have Michelangelo with textured Michelangelo. Textured Michelangelo came with the same stand. He came with a vent, which is kind of neat. He came with a satellite dish fist daggers, 2 ninja stars, and of course this Kasuri Gama, which, you know, this is more of like a weapon for 2012 Michelangelo, but still looks cool on this Michelangelo. And finally, we have Raphael. I think out of all of these 4 turtles, I think he has the best likeness. They did not give him a bulbous nose or beak. It looks very close to the proportions of the original action figure. I'm glad that the color looks great. You know, his skin tone looks just like the original skin tones from the old toys. This is like, you know, Raphael was always the easiest one to stand out of all 4 of them, right? But to try to get this Raphael in this stance is not easy, right? Because it's like you want the legs sort of to be around here, right? Because that's just kind of how naturally they should look, I guess. And you just want to be able to rotate the legs out this direction, but you can't do it because of the way the peg is set up. So you have to rotate the legs out further like this to try to get him to squat down even more to get into this like flat-footed pose. But I don't know, then it just starts to look weird because the muscles are like way pushed out to the side or rotated out to the side. So I don't know. I have major problems with these hips, but let's stand him up a little bit. And then do a quick turn around. Just as I said when I was talking about Mikey earlier, like just look at the size of the muscles on the old turtles compared to the new ones. I mean, proportionally, the new Ninja Turtles look fine. But the old Ninja Turtles, they seem to be a little tougher than these guys. You know, they look like they could fight He-Man on your shelf and win. The new guys, I guess they probably look like they could still fight He-Man, but I think if they were like in some kind of lifting contest, like these guys would win all day long. Raphael's size fit in his belt pretty well. Just like the original one, though, they do obstruct the movement a little bit of where the arms go, and I guess the legs too, but I mean, what can you expect? They're gigantic blades or dull weapons that are stuck right in front of his belt there. But still looks good. And can you fit a fist dagger in it? If you have the fist dagger from the textured figures, of course you can. Now here's a shot of all of the Raphaels in this classic style. Some might even say this shot is a little too Raph. I know, it was forced, I'm sorry. But, okay. So, this Raphael right here, this is a welcome return to normalcy, right? Because, look at that green. It matches the soft head, matches the hard head. The shell is close to these guys. The red is a little bright, but, you know, it's good. I feel like even the red on this Raphael is just off. Like, it's, I don't know. You're almost, maybe it's starting to get a little cooler or something like that. But these look great together. You know, like that is a fantastic remake of these original Raphaels. As I said before, even the likeness in the face, I think, is really good compared to these guys. But this Raphael right here, man, just that skin tone there, like that does not belong here at all. I don't understand why Playmates was doing it for so long. It's been years since they've been making like remastered or reissues of their Ninja Turtle action figures, and they just kept on making Raphael this color. Like, why? Like, did they lose the formula or something like that to make this green? I just don't understand. Did they just not care enough to try to fix it? Because, I mean, for a long time, reissues were continuing to use this green, and then for some reason they just stopped. You know, I don't understand it. But you know what? What's something the Super 7 Ultimates action figures have in common with these remastered Ninja Turtles? It's that the elbow articulation, like you can get it nice and straight, especially for attacks and stuff like that. But if you're trying to get into like a 90-degree angle, you cannot get there. You cannot get to a full 90 degrees, which is kind of unfortunate because, I don't know, sometimes you might want the arm bent up a little further just because it looks better with some poses. But, you know, This much more expensive version of Raphael, I mean, he couldn't do it either, right? He could only get to there, but you could get nice straight, but you could only, I don't know. It's closer, but still. Yeah, it's definitely closer to the other one. Here's smooth Raphael standing next to textured Raphael. Textured Raphael came with the same stand as all 4 Ninja Turtles, as I said. The difference is the goop, I think. I'm pretty sure it's a different shape on all 4 of them. He also came with a chimney that doesn't go anywhere. There is a ladder here, and there are holes on top of this wall that you can plug the ladder into. And of course, you know, when I display this thing, I'm going to put the ladder on the other side. I mean, it looks silly now, but he also came with the same fist daggers and also 2 ninja stars, just like the other guys. The only thing that's like kind of exciting is this weapon right here, this hammer weapon. But I don't know, this thing, because of like it being sort of a longer weapon, I kind of feel like it seems like something that should have been included with Donatello. So, in general, I like these turtles a lot. You know, I think they're good. And I'm excited to see where this line is going to go. You know, I can't wait to see Bebop and Rocksteady. I would love to see these guys fight Slash or Scumbug in this style. You know, I would love to see them do Muckman the right way. Like, that would be fantastic. But I also kind of feel like we've done this before, you know, with the Ultimates. You know, they were 5 times more expensive and now 6 times more, but I liked the larger size and the extra detail when it was done right. The only thing that's extra special about these little Playmates articulated Ninja Turtles is, you know, they fit in with your old toys. Moving on, now we get to talk about Splinter. Now, I've said this before, I have never been a huge fan of this original Splinter. Even before I kind of knew that he kind of looks similar to a Eastman and Laird Splinter. I don't know, there's just something about it. I mean, Eastman and Laird Splinter I think is way cooler, even though it kind of looks like a dog. He looks like a dog more so than he looks like a rat. But, I don't know, there was just something about him. I wasn't too fond of him. It was the face. It was like the short ears. I don't know. I think that they could have like maybe made this guy look even more like a Kevin Eastman and Peter Laird Splinter, but they didn't really do that. And like, I don't know. I don't even see the point of like showing these guys like so thoroughly side by side, because they really didn't copy the original design. He's basically his own thing. I mean, look at the face, the head, right? I think the head, like I said, they could have made it look even more like a Kevin Eastman and Peter Laird Splinter. They could have given him completely white eyes. They could have put some black around the eyelids to try to make it look more like that. I kind of wish maybe his 2 front teeth weren't so big and so white. Like, they just stand out so much on that face. I also think that the original Splinter's body looks almost more of like the proportions of a rat. More like if you took like an actual rat and put clothes on him, like a kimono, I feel like that's what that Splinter looks like. You know, he never really looked like a man that was turned into a rat. This guy, I think, looks more like a rat man. So I think that they have done better with that. I do think it's kind of funny. They did give him actual full sleeves. I wonder why they did it that way. So he looks almost more like the Fred Wolf Splinter. The kimono is not soft goods. It's hard goods. It's just soft vinyl. Which is, I'm okay with that, because I don't know, I never liked the kimono on Splinter to begin with, because I could never figure out how you're actually supposed to wrap it around him. And, you know, as a kid, you took that thing off of him really quick, and then you just lost it anyway. What I don't like about the new Splinter is just how small his legs are. He just seems too tiny. I don't know, maybe I'm wrong about that, because in the comic books and in the cartoon, like, Splinter is a lot smaller than the guys. I mean, if you put Mikey next to them, they are similar heights. The original one's just so much more bulkier than this guy. What I do like about the new Splinter is I like how he actually has like a pointy rat tail. The original Splinter kind of had like this dull, rounded tail. It reminds me more of like a worm than it does a rat tail. And this is the soft-headed Splinter. Unfortunately, he's getting sticky. Oh, you know what I don't like? I don't like how the new Splinter has, I guess, more realistic rat feet. See how it almost kind of looks like a hand? Where I kind of prefer this like pointy original rat Splinter feet. Sure. The original Splinter had some pretty simple articulation. You had a swivel neck. You have a swivel shoulder. You have a swivel elbow cut. Both of the same spots on both arms. And then you have, I don't know, it's, I guess, a swivel hip joint. You know, no ball joints for Splinter. Poor guy. And then, of course, you have a swivel here at the tail. The brand new Splinter has some more sophisticated articulation. He's got a ball-jointed neck. He has a swivel at the shoulder, plus a hinge. You have a swivel at the elbow here, plus a hinge. You also have a swivel at the wrist, which is good. Although the, I don't know, the sleeve here does get in the way when you're like trying to get him to hold the bow and arrow. There's nothing in the upper torso, but what's better than the Ninja Turtles is he actually has ball jointed hips. So you can actually get him into better stances than the Ninja Turtles. You just might have a hard time, I don't know, balancing him because of how he's built. You know, kind of big on the upper side, skinny legs on the down the bottom side. The knees have a hinge plus a swivel, and then of course, better than the Ninja Turtles, you have a hinge here, and you also have ankle rockers. So this guy is advanced. And then of course you have the tail here, which is, it's just a swivel. No ball in there. So yeah, his articulation is pretty good. I kind of wish that the Ninja Turtles were like that. I sort of get the feeling like the Ninja Turtles were sculpted by a completely different person than Splinter and the Shredder. Something I don't like about the brand new Splinter is the Ninja Bow. I just don't like it proportionately. Like, you know, the rope or the string is like almost as thick as the actual wood that makes up the bow. I don't know, I just liked how the original one was so much larger. You can remove this arrow, which is nice, but even that is just a little too clunky. This one's got like, it's kind of pointy, thin. I don't know, I just prefer the original one. Even though there's more textured detail on this, like you can see like a wood grain and everything, you only have a little tiny bit of that on the original one, but for whatever reason, I just think it looks nicer. I kind of feel the same way about the sword cane. Like on the outside of this thing, it looks fine. You know, it's nice and textured. There's a wood grain, just like the original one has. But when you actually remove the cane part and you see the sword, I don't know. It's just kind of stiff, straight, kind of boring. But I like the original one because of how pointy it was. There was just something about that just seemed like dangerous, where this one looks almost like, I don't know, it doesn't look as threatening. But I do appreciate the extra paint. So there you have it. I don't know, I feel indifferent about this guy, you know, because he is not really a remake of those original toys. You know, it's not like a one-up like the Masters of the Universe Origins figures. He's like a brand new take with a brand new face and just some similar details. Like he's wearing a kimono, but he's got sleeves. His legs are skinny, you know, there's some breaking up in the bandage areas, you know, where the joints are. I don't know. I feel like he's a decent Splinter. I like him maybe more than the original ones because, like I said, I was never a huge fan, you know. And Super 7, I don't know. I had like some positive feelings about this figure, but at the same time, I'm just like, you know what? I don't know. There's just something about the head sculpt, and it's not because it's a bad head sculpt. It's just because the style, you know, it's just not the style that I think is cool. I would either go all the way Fred Wolf, or I would go all the way Kevin Eastman and Peter Laird, and then I guess you would finally have a good Splinter. I think maybe the Fred Wolf Splinter is probably my favorite Splinter of all time. I don't think anybody has come close to topping that one yet. Finally, here's Shredder. What happened here? Yeah, I should start by saying that just like with Splinter, I never really liked that original Shredder action figure. I understand that, he's bent in this pose because he's actually really tall and he was too big for the card, so they had to shrink him down or scrunch him down into this position, right? But he always drove me crazy because he fell over. It always drove me crazy too because he was shirtless and he looks like an old man. He's got like an old man body, bunch of muscles, and his like bones are protruding out and stuff like that. Like, he doesn't look like some guy who's like buff, in my opinion. He's not like the cartoon Shredder. Like, the cartoon Shredder was my Shredder as a kid. Like, there's lots of toys that I loved so much more than how they appeared in the cartoon. Like Slash, I think I like General Trag more in toy form. But Shredder, man, I wanted the toy to look just like the cartoon. I just thought it was a better design than this guy that we got right here. So I was hoping in this line we could get, a Shredder in this style with the same colors and all that kind of stuff, but done better, done as faithfully as they did the Ninja Turtles. But I don't think we did because they like shrunk this guy down. He's way, way too small. I feel like he's in a different scale than the other Ninja Turtle toys. I kind of feel like he almost looks like he's like just a little taller than like a G.I. Joe. And, the G.I. Joes were way too small for the Ninja Turtle action figures. We're going to take a closer look at some things in a second, but I did want to do a turnaround so you can kind of see what's going on here. But, I mean, just look at the presence that original Shredder has. He might not be the greatest action figure, but he's just, like, bigger. He feels dangerous. This new one, he just appears kind of small. And unlike with Splinter, I do like his soft outfit, because first of all, you know how to put it on. It's not that hard. I prefer that over this cape. Or I would have preferred them to give you a cloth cape, because this cape is this cape is a little too big and a little too in the way. Like, I feel like it kind of hangs down further than his feet, so you have to put it behind him and basically use it as a stand to help him stand in place. It's kind of mind-blowing that almost 40 years later, Playmates cannot make a good classic Shredder. And no, I'm not saying that they can't make a good Shredder, because they have. The 2003 Shredder was great. The 2012 Shredder was a good likeness. Super Shredder was great. Even Wacky Action, he's kind of have the same body as Super Shredder. He's okay, but he's not. To me, he's not classic Shredder. He doesn't look like them, and he doesn't look like Shredder in the cartoon. And then, of course, you had Playmates. I don't know what you consider the classics. Is this like them trying to be the cartoon, or was it them trying to make the old Ninja Turtle toys bigger before they got like completely shown up by Super 7? I don't know, but that was a crappy Shredder too. I did not like that Shredder at all. So, let's see the details here. Well, they got the colors correct, but I don't know, like his eyes, look at his eyes. He looks like he's freaked out. He looks like he's scared. He does not look intimidating. Like, the original Shredder was kind of weird because it looks like there's all these wrinkles around his eyes, which again makes him look like an old man. But there's just something about that, like, stare that he has. It's like a soulless stare, like he's piercing you. And one of the weirdest things was them painting his skin on top of the helmet and then giving him eyebrows on top of the helmet. I don't know why. Who the hell made that mistake? But it was funny when Super 7 released their extra head with their Ultimate Shredder, and people didn't understand what the joke was. But I don't know. There is something kind of like cool looking about the original helmet, where this one looks more like the cartoon helmet. You know, it's a little simple. It's different. It's a different type of style. So then we go down to the muscles. So as I said, like the original one's muscles are just like too... I don't know. They're super muscular, but I think it's because he's so thin. It makes him look kind of gangly or old or something like that. I mean, he's kind of super jacked. This guy has a better build, you know, like he's got a wider presence. I just wish that he was bigger. You know, I wish his torso was longer and everything else. The original one had a purple diaper on, but this one just has black pants. I guess they didn't want to do like the Superman thing. But here's what I'm talking about, like the back on the original Shredder. You can see like his spine protruding. This new one doesn't have that. The torso actually would look good. It just needs to be bigger. The arms and the like the muscles on the arms of this brand new one look nice. But I don't like how the spikes are just kind of stuck onto the shoulders. Like there's something, even though they're kind of stuck on the old one, they still appear like, I don't know, like they make more sense. I think it's because they covered the whole shoulder. But this one is just like they're like stuck on there like a suction cup. When you get down into the arms, the forearms, like the claws here, they look okay. The wraps around the forearm look alright. I do like how the original one, like the strap goes from the wrist over the thumb and then connects it. Because, you know, it makes it look as though, I don't know, like it's sort of keeping something in place there. But this one, I don't know, he's got the strap around the hand, but then the strap just goes around the hand. It's not really touching the claws. Same thing on the other side. Well, you know what? Well, on the other side, the strap actually goes across the spikes, or the claws, and then connects to the other side. Where this one, the strap just goes around his hand. So that's kind of strange. The pants look good, and the muscles are sculpted really well. It doesn't really copy the originals. The original one's simple, you know. These actually look really thought out, and there's a lot of extra detail there. They just, like I've said like 100 times, they just don't look like they fit in with the Ninja Turtle bodies because he's so small compared to them. The bottom of the legs, the wraps and everything look good. The sculpt is nice. The spikes on the shins look nice too. I don't know. I do like how the spikes were on the original one a lot more than the new one because they stick out further. You know, they look like if you get close to this guy, you know, you're going to get some damage to you. The new one, I'm sure those spikes would hurt, but I don't know. It just doesn't seem like as threatening or something. I mean, look at all the muscles in here. I don't know. Scott Hensey, the guy that works at Anacliff, or the owner of Anacliff, he is the guy who sculpted the original Shredder, and that guy did so many other fantastic action figures. So, you know, you can't always bat 100 or whatever, but it's like he obviously put a lot of thought into this guy. I just don't like the outcome as much as I like a lot of the other figures he worked on. Like, I think so many other figures were amazing. And this new Shredder, if you would have fixed the face and maybe made the spikes a little different, like, and made him bigger, I think he could have been a pretty cool looking Shredder. But as it is, he's just way too small. And, you know, we're going to look at him next to the other guys. All right. So you have this brand new Shredder next to the original Shredder, right? Now, if you put Michelangelo here, I think my thing is though, even though the Shredder is taller than Michelangelo, he's just a lot smaller. Like, he doesn't have the presence that original Shredder has. Like, if you look at this Michelangelo next to that Shredder might be skinnier than him, but he still appears large and threatening, you know? And, you know, we all know, as I said before, if you actually stretched him out, he'd probably be like this tall. Like, if he stands up straight, he's a lot taller than Michelangelo. So what I think Playmates should have done was they probably should have... I guess this Shredder is a little too short, too. This wacky Shredder, who basically has the same body as Super Shredder, is, you know, he definitely still looks too short next to the other Shredder. But he is also the build of a lot of Playmates' human characters. You know, especially if you're looking at maybe the Dick Tracy characters, or I don't know. Like, the whole thing is you want these new toys to be able to mix in with the old ones. It's kind of like Masters of the Universe Origins, where they're all pretty much the same exact size as those old toys. And, you know, if you can't afford a Scareglow, you buy the Origins version of Scareglow and you put them with your guys. If you only want to buy new characters who were made in Origins and put them with your old toys, you can do that. You know, you don't have to buy every single character you used to have, because the new toys sort of mix in with the old toys, even though they have updated articulation. But this Shredder looks like the Shredder from a completely different series. I mean, he doesn't match with, like, the Rat King here. Like, look at Rat King's build. He's short, like, he's stocky. Or even, come on, man. Casey Jones. I took Casey Jones' bag off of him because he'll fall over. But Casey Jones has, like, the same body as these guys, or like the Dick Tracy guys. You know, he's perfectly in height. With the Ninja Turtles, he has a completely different heads count. You know, like when you're drawing and you draw a character who's like 8 heads tall, that kind of thing. Like Casey Jones, he's like 1, 2, 3, 4, maybe 4 heads tall. Shredder here is like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, like almost like 5.5. He's like a completely different scale. So then, are all of the humans also going to be in that size? You know, when you get a brand new April O'Neil, is she going to match Shredder there? You know what? To be fair, like, April doesn't look like she necessarily matches original Shredder either. April looks like she's like from a different toy line. The original Shredder's articulation is pretty much what you expect from every Ninja Turtle toy from back in the day. You have a swivel neck. This is the soft-headed Shredder. You have a swivel shoulder. Then you have a swivel either by the elbow or by the wrist. Both of these are by the elbow. And then you have ball-jointed hips. And that's it. And this guy, like I said, abysmal. Like, when you're trying to pose him, like, and then, you know, as these get older, I know, like, isn't it like some of the plastic starts to shrink, so then it's even harder to turn the legs on the balls. The brand new Shredder has a lot more articulation. You have a ball jointed neck. You have a swivel at the shoulder, plus a hinge. You have a swivel at the elbow and a hinge. You have a swivel at the wrist. You know, this Shredder sort of has the same kind of hand as the original one. Although, I would say, like, look how much more expression there is with the completely, like, open-fingered palm hand that the original Shredder had. Like, this one, he's just kind of like this. Like, maybe he's karate chopping. But I don't know. It's just not as expressive as the old one. You have a swivel here at the waist. You have the same kind of hip articulation that the Ninja Turtles have. I don't understand why Splinter was the only one that actually had good ball jointed hips, and everybody else has this peg system that they have going on here with the hinge and the peg. You have a swivel and a hinge at the knees, and then there is a ankle cut. Again, why did Splinter only get the ankle rocker and hinged ankle? Alright, so now let's talk about Shredder's weapons. I honestly think that Shredder's weapons are not anything, are nothing to write home about. Alright, they are just not that exciting. They're very simple. You have this basic sword. The original Shredder came with a sword that I believe was the same exact sword as Leonardo. So why they didn't just paint the Leonardo sword with a purple handle, I don't know. But, you know, the Leonardo one looks nicer because it's got that line down the side of it. This one just looks very basic. You know, there's not really much to say about it. I kind of wish it, like it would be nice if it got like pointier or something like that. It's just too simple. And then you had this you have this like littler sword, smaller sword. And again, it's like this sword is not doing anything for me at all either. I don't know. I hate to be an asshole, but it's just true. Like, I don't get it. Like, you're like toy makers. You can make anything. You can make anything really, really cool. And then, you know, he's got these miniature fist daggers. As I showed you before, the Ninja Turtles are still coming with basically the same exact fist daggers that we used to get back in the 80s. And he's got like this tiny one. What happened? That's sad, man. And then you also have another tiny I can't even look. His first of all, his grip is way too big. You could fit like the one sword. I mean, obviously I've been fitting most of these, but it's built for these big sword handles, and then these little tiny things. Like, look, he's got a miniature other fist dagger. It's just not right, man. And then he had a tiny ninja star. And if I have a picture of it, I will show you it right here. But I lost this. I had him holding it for this one group shot that I did. And then I put him down. And at some point I picked him up, and the ninja star fell out of his hand. And now I can't find it. And the only way that I could get him to hold it, first of all, I couldn't get him to actually hold it with his hands. I had to stick his thumb through the hole. And that's the only way. So unfortunately, Shredder's accessories here are a letdown, in my opinion. So here's this brand new Shredder with all these other Shredders in this style. You have the hard head, the soft head, and then of course Super 7's version. And, you know, I felt like maybe Super 7's version kind of won me over a little bit. I feel like he was a cool action figure. You know, it's still not my favorite Shredder design, but I think that they understood the appeal, I think they just kind of understood what maybe Playmates was going for originally. Because even like the blades, you know, they stick out further. This guy is just like scaled back. He even has the purple underwear on, you know. Same style of belt. I mean, this was Playmates' last attempt at like a Shredder that could go with our old 80s Ninja Turtles. And then of course you had, I'm just putting this in here. I still think, I don't know, I've talked about both NECA Shredders this year, both their Fred Wolf and their Archie Shredders, and I don't know, they're my favorite. I wish Playmates could have came through and made a Shredder here that I don't know, just wowed me. You know, I was waiting for it because I thought the Ninja Turtles looked good despite them originally being textured. And then when they announced the 6-pack, I saw the Shredder and I thought, okay, yeah, okay. But then once I saw pictures of him actually standing next to the Ninja Turtles, I was just thinking like, my God, he looks so small. He looks so tiny compared to them. So now, in no particular order, I'm going to show you these remastered Ninja Turtles sitting on every single vehicle that I have. And I pretty much have every vehicle from 1988 to 1991. There's a few that's missing, but for the most part, I got them. And instead of cherry picking them, I'll show you them all, so you can see. But here, first, we have the Turtle Tank, which is such a wonderfully detailed, sculpted vehicle. Like the shells just look awesome on this thing. But Michelangelo is sitting up here in the seats. The legs are a little bit too long, so they don't sit down here where they should. And I don't know, his butt doesn't really push all the way up against the seat. It just kind of hovers a little bit. I would like to see, I guess, how the original Ninja Turtles fit in there. Sometimes they would hover a little bit on certain things, but this looks pretty good. He looks okay sitting up there. Now up next was a suggestion from viewer Flurprolruff 1824. I can't pronounce that. It's like Flurp and then backwards Perulf. So he had suggested the shell top 4x4, which is another really awesome vehicle. I don't even remember if I knew about this when I was growing up. But as you can see, Leonardo is standing on the back. And this is one of those cases where, as I said before, I wish that his legs could rotate this direction so that you could actually put both feet where they belong. I mean, he looks cool back there. Like, he looks great. And then inside here, you have Raphael. And Raphael is sitting pretty much right on top of the seats. His hands are gripping the handles. And then inside, his feet, his legs stretch out and they fit perfectly fine. This is a good fit for these remastered Ninja Turtles. And then another suggestion from Flurp is Donnie's Kooky Carnival Car. See, these are dusty. But this is this was a cool vehicle. That was a specific Donatello vehicle. You push it back and then it winds up and it goes forward, but it doesn't work on this table for some reason. But I mean, he sits in there just fine. He fits. Here's a few random ones. And I gotta be honest with you, I didn't even know about these when I was a kid, or at least I don't remember them. But you have Raph's Speedboat. And this is a pretty cool looking vehicle. To be honest, it was very difficult trying to get him to sit in there. There's not much space for his legs, and you can't rotate them the way that you want them to rotate, so you just gotta kind of have to keep on messing with it until eventually you're able to shove them down in there in a full-on sitting position. Up next is Mike's Pizza Chopper backpack. This is a pretty cool thing. Push this button in, it spins. Yeah, don't remember this at all. This fits him very well. I was going to ask, are you supposed to take off their belts to put this on him and then that onto Donatello? Because I was able to get them on with the belts, but the belts, of course, push the accessory back quite a bit. If you want Michelangelo to stand with this, you do have to lean him forward, which I'm sure you have to do with the original toy too. Come on, buddy. All right. And last is Donatello's telephone line rider backpack. So I guess you put a string through here so that way he can rotate. Or can he climb up a rope? I don't know. Never had it. So the telephone is kind of interesting. I like the Ninja Turtle face on the phone line. But then the other part of the phone line here has a little blade on it. So it looks like Donatello's going to reach out and stab somebody. Weird, wacky action, cool looking accessories, but let's move on. Up next, we have one of the coolest Ninja Turtle vehicles, the Sewer Sub. Now, Donatello looks kind of weird up there. You can't really prop him between the gun and the door. But what I was really happy about was I was able to actually get Leonardo inside of here. Even with his, he doesn't have his swords on, but he's got the scabbards on. And luckily, I was able to get him in there and get his hands on the handles and close the front. You know, that's all good. Real quick, I know this isn't a Ninja Turtle vehicle. This is more of an April thing. But here is Michelangelo sitting on the Channel 6 news bike. Or what was it? Channel 6 Ninja Cycle. So I messed that up. But, you know, he can get both hands on the handles. I don't know. He rides it somewhat well. Here's some villain vehicles really quick. Here you can see Shredder riding the Foot Cruiser. You know, he doesn't look that bad in it. This is, you know, this damn windshield. It's like warped. I gotta warp it back into the right place so it actually stays in the holes. I mean, the cape is very large. It does kind of look cool as though it's like actually like flowing in the wind. But I don't know. If you got him in there and then you add somebody else. Let's see, who can I put in there? You know, let's put Bebop next to him. I don't know. He just looks small. It's not the worst thing in the world, but he just appears too small in my personal opinion. Here he is riding the foot ski, and again, I don't know, he just appears way too small. He looks like a little kid riding this thing. Here is the Sludge Mobile. I don't know. I don't feel like he looks right on this thing at all. Again, he's just way too small. And here he is on the Psycho Cycle, which, I don't know, this does not look right at all either. You know, and this was, I don't know, I always loved this thing. Like, I never had this as a kid. I always wanted this thing. Just seeing, like, the picture of Bebop riding this on the box. It's a very cool motorcycle. But yeah, I don't know. The only way I could get him on here was by popping off the cape. Alright, so here we have the Turtle Taxi, which I think is funny because the only way to get Raphael's body to sit on this thing is to like spread his legs out as far as possible, you know, and it really looks like he's using this thing as he's driving around. But I don't know, his hands don't really line up that well with the wheel. I don't know. It's kind of weird. He feels kind of awkward sitting on that thing. Michelangelo on the Turtle Dragster, like him too, you can't really get his butt down onto the top of the seat. And I don't know, it's just kind of where he's placed isn't great. His legs are too long, so they start to push those guns. And lots of times they just kind of fall off from the feet pushing on them. And then here is Shredder on the Knucklehead. And again, I just feel like he's too small. You know, I'm just going to say that 100 times before this thing's over. Here's Leonardo next to the Seltzer Cannon, which I always loved this. I had this as a kid, but, you know, quickly lost the pieces to it. But I always loved the transparent bottles here. You know, he looks pretty good next to that. By itself, Shredder looks okay next to the Ooze Cannon, but I don't know. Here's Leonardo on top of the Pizza Thrower. He sits on that pretty good, but as you can imagine, his feet go past the place where the feet are supposed to go with the original toys. But his butt sits on the chair, so that's nice. Michelangelo is sitting on the Retro Catapult. I don't have the... What do you need? Like a rubber band to work this thing? I do not have one. But, you know, he kind of sits on it a little weird. It was kind of tough trying to angle him down. I don't know, it's hard to have him grip onto that thing and also sit all the way down. Here's Donatello on the double-barreled plunger gun. You know, some of these were cool looking. I remember especially back in the day, but I don't know. Like, this one is still cool. I think the Retro Catapult, it's almost kind of seems like useless. I've watched some videos where people say, like, you can barely even fire, like, mutagen off of it. It's so long. And then here's Raphael on the Turtle Trooper, which I do have the parachute, but it doesn't stick to the wires anymore. Here was another suggestion from Flurpulf. The Cheapskates. So, you know, these guys, I mean, they fit on them okay. Their hands fit around whatever this is for them. Is that supposed to be the switch for the attack method? But because the peg holes on them are so big, they do not snap into place. So as you're moving this thing around, they move around in ways that you don't want them to. Now here is one of my all-time favorite Ninja Turtle vehicles. I just love this thing. I had this as a kid. I just like all the detail, all the shells on it and stuff like that. It was really creative, in my opinion. You know, it's like one of those things that you could stare at for hours, just checking it out. So this brand new Raphael sits on this pretty well. Was able to get his leg to sit on there kind of normal. So that looks good. He holds onto the handle pretty well. It keeps the wheel nice and straight. I think I always kind of feel like I had trouble like making sure that the wheel was straight when there was somebody sitting on it. But this looks fine. The only thing is you got Michelangelo on the sidecar here, right? And of course his feet do not plug into any of the pegs because they're too big. So what I did was I kind of squatted him down a little bit and then put his hands onto the trash can, and that's actually holding him in place. And it's holding him in place really well. I don't think he's going to move or fall out anytime soon. So this looks great. This, I think, is a perfect pairing. I'm sad to say, but I could not get Leonardo inside of the Turtle Copter. You know, I took this old Leonardo out, tried to put him in there, but I could not get him in there. And, you know, to be honest with you, I can barely get the old Leonardo inside of here, but his legs are just way too small, and the articulation doesn't make it easy to try to put him in there. Even Donatello sitting over here in this gunner chair, it's like, look, his head is like touching the bomb right above his head. Here's Shredder in Playmates reissue of the Mutant module. You know, there's no seat in here, but I mean, you just squat him down and he fits on this thing pretty well. No complaints. Can't get him out. The cape is like, does kind of get in the way though. I don't know. Might be easier just to take it off of him when you're trying to put him in this thing. But I mean, I don't know. Why wouldn't you want the cape on him? Ooh, now we're up to one of the heavy hitters. The Turtle Van, or the Party Wagon, whatever you want to call it. As you can see, I got both Donatello and Leonardo in the front here, and they actually sit pretty well. I probably could have tried a little harder with Donatello, but I was able to get Leo pretty low there, where he's actually looking out the window. So that's great. But what about the door? All right, it just might be a little stiff. Okay, all right. Raphael launched out of there pretty well. He's attached. He's staying in place. Mikey's hanging out in the back. Maybe he's watching TV that we can't see. I don't know. Maybe he's just dreaming of pizza. But yeah, so all four of these guys fit in the Turtle Van very well. Let's see. Just for the heck of it, put a Splinter in there with them. And I should mention that the Turtle Van was requested by Super Mario Plush Boy 85. And the next one is requested by Rymo 555. Next, we have another big one. The biggest one, because this one won't even fit on the screen. You see that? Kind of bums me out. I wish I could show it all, but this thing, and it took me 30 minutes to blow up. It was ridiculous. This is such a large balloon. But you have the Turtle Blimp, and these guys fit on it pretty well. I mean, in the cartoon, they just sort of sit on these turbines or whatever on the glider. I'm sure, you know, you can maybe have them sit like that, but in the cartoon, I think most of the times they kind of ride it like a horse. And Donatello here, I don't know, when I was a kid, I always stuck my Ninja Turtle head like in this piece right here. because the way it looked to me was that like these two spots right here almost kind of appear like lenses or something like that. Like I figured they would look through here to see out really far to see where they're shooting. Maybe that's just me. They're probably just lasers, but whatever. But yeah, they look pretty cool on this thing. The only thing, I mean, like, the one thing that's kind of bugging me right now is when I blew this up, I realized this bit right here has disconnected from the hole on the turtle blimp. And I don't know how you would go about reattaching that, because you can't like reattach it when it's blown up. It's kind of over here, but you want that to be stuck there. It sort of keeps the blimp in place, because both of them have popped off. So now when you like have it sitting, it like just kind of rolls over to the side. So I don't know how you would go about reattaching that, because I wouldn't want to like reattach it and glue it and then have this piece down here that attaches to the wing be in the wrong spot. So I don't know what I'm going to do. I'm probably just going to leave it as is. I don't blow this thing up that often anyways, but it just kind of bums me out that it's not perfect anymore. Hopefully, this doesn't mess up my stickers, but this one goes out to Flurp again. This was his final request, the sewer tubes. And first you have the sewer party tube. Gotta take them out quick so the stickers don't get messed up. Oh, Donnie cannot be supported. But Michelangelo was good. Donnie was on the army tube. So Michelangelo could float. But I think maybe just this one is too heavy. Yeah, he just sinks it. Here's Raph and Shredder with the Flush-O-Matic. You know, it works out okay. You know, the seatbelt was a little tight on Raph, but, you know, we're good. Here you can see them hanging out in the Technodrome. I got Mikey crossing the bridge. Krang's over here just to show somewhat of a size comparison between him and Shredder. Shredder is sitting in his command center, and, you know, he can sit in there pretty well. You know, on the bright side with the Technodrome is, the Technodrome, to me, always seemed a little too small. So, I guess it's kind of good for the Shredder being this size. And here you can see everybody hanging out in the sewer lair. Come on, Mikey. I wanted it to look like he got crushed. So what else do I have? Oh yeah, I have the Mega Mutants, like Killer Bee. See Shredder riding on that thing? He fits okay. You know, I got the seatbelt around him. All right. The cape's getting in the way of that thing that's supposed to go on his head, but whatever. And then, of course, I have Needle Nose. Mikey's sitting on top of this. I did not buckle the seatbelt, so, you know, Michelangelo is a bad example right now. But I did get his hands around the handle. So that's cool, you know. He looks pretty nice on there. He fits well. All right, so that's it. But we got one more thing to talk about. Scale, I guess. So here is Leonardo, and he looks pretty good among all these guys. You know, some of these guys are a lot smaller than you kind of remember them. Like, you always kind of think of Slash as sort of like this big bruiser, but he's so much smaller than the guys. Here you have Shredder with everybody, and I'm perfectly fine with Shredder's height, I guess. You know, seeing him among all these people, his height is pretty good. You know, he's taller than a lot of these other guys. He's taller than the Ninja Turtles, even taller than an original Ninja Turtle. But he just doesn't have the build that he needs. You know, he needs the stocky, muscular build that all these other Ninja Turtle action figures have. So I'm currently optimistic. You know, I can't wait to see them try some of these other mutants. But as I said before, I also kind of feel like not much excitement. Because like I said, we saw this already with the Ultimates, except they were bigger, more detailed, and articulated more. In my honest opinion, I will probably still continue to display my original Ninja Turtles with all these guys. And, you know, unless I find a spot to put them, they're going to be kind of sitting in a box until more figures come out. That's just how it is. So let me know what you think. Were you really happy with these guys? Like I said, I think the Ninja Turtles are good. Despite the ankle articulation. But if you liked them, if you didn't like them, let me know. Have a good one, and I will talk to you later.